sees us.
The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
The NWA heavyweight champion. And at the time, you had to be able to go 60 as a babyface or a heel as a champion. And this guy had been around, and he was polite with everybody, but I wasn't intimidated. I didn't think I was good enough to even talk to him. But when that'd be like you're breaking in baseball and you're playing baseball with Babe Ruth, and you don't want to talk to Babe Ruth because you don't feel you're worthy of him. And that's the way I felt, was because I knew I was the shits, and I never thought I would stay in the business as long as I did here, of just talking shit and doing whatever.
Drew Wilson knows how to keep us on live here. Hey Rip, how you liking this 80-degree weather? It's $10 super chat.
This is the greatest weather we've had here today.
Opinions on Monte and the Pharaoh.
Oh yeah, I watch them on the internet a lot of times. They're really good. I like them. They have some great guests on there. I like their opinions. As a matter of fact, they're over with me. I watch them as much as I can, just as much as I watch Jimmy Cornette stuff, and that's probably the main two that I like. But then again, I like James. I like to watch James's stuff, and then God, I see the guy. I've been on his show, but I can't. The dark-haired guy, this and that. But anyway,
I've never heard of Monte and the Pharaoh.
Yeah, they're good. You can Google.
They wrestling?
Yeah, it's all about wrestling stuff.
Oh.
Well, I guess that's it, Jimmy. I'm trying to get Eddie Mansfield on as the crowd is waiting.
Yeah.
I'm going to play a quick video, and then
a quick video.
Video. Tell me what you think here. All right.
What's up, you guys? Bear with me because I am driving home right now from my signing that I just did. And obviously I tweeted out, you know, that a fan tried to kiss me during my signing, actually during my photo ops to be exact. And I just want to obviously put it out there first that I'm okay. I've been getting a lot of texts, tweets, calls, like everything imaginable to make sure I'm good. I promise you I'm good. I'm good. Like I managed to get away, and, you know, and he ended up leaving, so it's good. But I just want to put a PSA out there. I am a hugger. I've always been a hugger when it comes to my fans. But going forward, I would love if we just stick to handshakes, just to be safer and you know, just to have a little bit of a boundary, you know. But yeah, just we shouldn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So going forward, yeah, I just want to stick to that. And I just want to say thank you all for coming out, though. I really appreciate you. There was a bunch of you, and you were all amazing. And it was just one bad day, you know, and it is what it is. But yeah, I just wanted to put it out there. Please don't do that to us, you guys. Like, please, to any wrestler, not just females, any wrestler, do not try and kiss us. It's not appropriate. It's actually assault. So please don't do that. We want to come out. We want to meet you. We want to say hi. You know, we love getting to meet you guys. So yeah, just going forward, if we could just stick to handshakes. I'm sorry.
I guess you're sticking to handshakes. Mansfield was on, but he said he was on audio only to let him in. And I don't know. I don't see him on here at all.
Huh. Well, Mike, I want to thank you first for putting Paige over my body. I have never been so good looking.
That's fucking sure, man.
I figured you'd like that joke. Everything Paige said there, I completely agree with. I thought she was very classy in her statement right there, quite honestly. I think it's a shame that she can't hug her fans anymore, that she liked to do that. I didn't sense any disrespect towards fans in general. And like she said, it was one bad egg. And by the way, you get to meet Paige. You're going to really try to, like, slobber knocker her tongue? I mean, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? Loser. That's a loser. That's like 1 in 1,000 nerds, man. Or maybe more, I hope.
That's a legitimate question, Jimmy. I was thinking about that when I first heard her make that announcement about that situation.
Yeah.
I thought about it in a couple of different ways, right?
Oh,
I thought
okay.
about it. I thought about it. Okay, you're a fan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's Smoking Hot Paige, and you're going in for a picture,
Okay.
and bingo bango.
Bingo bango.
Try to give a kiss on the lips and see what you get away with, right?
Whoa.
It's not the end of the
All right.
world, is it?
So scenario number 1, you're an asshole. What's the other scenario?
Well,
Not you.
Again,
Not you. Somebody who would
I'm just trying to say. There's Paige. Here she is.
Yeah.
She says she's a hugger. I'm a hugger.
So's Bailey.
I'm the fan. I'm coming in. I get it. But I'm coming in, and I go. First of all, I don't think he stuck his tongue out. Let's not get stupid. He probably went.
I don't know what the severity was, but apparently it was enough for her to have to make a statement, right? Or no? I didn't see any video. Is there video of this, by the way?
I did not find any video. Jimmy.
Okay, all right. I believe her though. I believe somebody got out of line. I mean, she's not going to, she doesn't need to, just make something up. So obviously somebody took a jump way out of bounds. To me, that's way out of bounds.
It's way out of bounds.
Yeah, to try to French kiss Paige when you're online for a signing, yeah, you're a little weird. Yeah, I'm going to go with you're a little weird. That person.
Sorry, dude. I'm just writing Eddie Mansfield.
Eddie, where are you?
Hold on.
Yeah, but dude. I thought his statement was well said. We've seen some strange types at the conventions. You never know when somebody's going to get very weird.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like William Shatner, for example. Like, you stand there.
No,
you over there.
I'm really disappointed.
This is the guy.
I'm really disappointed right now. I'm having trouble with Mansfield. I'm having trouble concentrating.
I know. I know. So I'm filling the air with my.
So keep filling the air with your nonsense, please.
Yeah, that's what with my nonsense. Well, you're welcome. Oh my God. But anyway, yeah, like Shatner. You stand there. You over there. This is the guy who gave us Star Trek V, the worst of the franchise.
All right, but look, first of all, you're a hugger, right? I'm a hugger.
Shatner didn't even come close to hugging you or me. That was terrible.
Who cares about transfer? We're talking about Paige. We're talking about Paige.
Let's talk about Shatner. Oh, sorry, there goes my phone. God.
Oh my
camera.
God.
I'm sorry.
All right, so you're fine.
Mike, come on, man. I know you well enough to know you're not going up there going, "Hey, Paige."
That to me is ridiculous. I agree.
Thank you.
I agree 100%.
All right, well, thank God for that.
That being said, you're a fan. You're paying your money, right? Yeah. Maybe you think you're going to get lucky. Look, dude, all he did was – I doubt the guy was trying to give tongue. That's all I'm trying to say to you, dude. And wait a minute. And here's the other point. And by the way, some assholes on Twitter –
oh, no.
When I first read this, I wrote this. I put on on Twitter. I'm like, who does that?
It's X, damn it. Mr. Musk said
X.
so.
Okay, you're right. X.
Go on.
And then one of our usual haters said this coming from the guys who did the nip slip video with. Oh,
come on. Come on. Really?
What do you mean? Come on.
What are they complaining about? The nip slip?
They're saying, you're all bent out of shape about Saraya getting a kiss. Meanwhile, you do videos on nip slips, with Stratton. But I mean, come on, that was well worth it. I think. You know what I'm saying?
Were animals harmed during this incident? Could you help me out here?
What do you mean were animals harmed? What the fuck, dude?
Hey. Either you drive in the fast lane like I do and understand the methods, or you don't. That's just the way it is. Oh, these people bitch and complain about everything. Who cares? Who cares? It depends on what we're laughing at, you know? I mean, it really does.
All right,
Those
so
two scenarios couldn't have been more different.
So Paige is 100% right.
Yeah, she's 1,000% right. Say me, you know, in that situation, absolutely.
Listen, it's
You don't
fair.
be French kissing. You know, look, you don't be French kissing. Like, okay, here goes Mike. Mike's a hardworking American. I can't think of too many that are as hardworking as you. You decide you want to go meet Rhea Ripley. Now, I know you're very fond of Rhea Ripley. I know that. You know, you get up on the line. Hey,
Yes,
here's a great idea. This is my chance to get some tongue. Come here, Rhea. No, it's not happening. What the hell are you talking about?
What if there's a one in a lifetime chance?
Oh, like she gives you a look like, hey, Monty from Monte and the Pharaoh, come here. Like something like that?
Yeah, and then like slips me some tongue.
Oh, well, then it's like, you know, she wanted that slippage. So that's different.
All right, I guess my point to you, Jimmy, as a fan, is worth taking? It's worth taking the chance, isn't it?
No, it's not. Don't you encourage people trying to lap tongues with WWF celebrities? What the WWE? Oh, you see what I did there? Now animals are being harmed, WWF. But no, we're not gonna. We don't encourage that, Michael. No, draw the line.
Fair enough.
Thank you. There it is.
Even though, I'm gonna continue to ask this question. Even though she literally got pounded by two guys on video.
Oh, come on. Now we're going back to the sandwich thing?
Yeah, why not?
Wow. Oh, man. I
guess
rough.
that's all right? You shouldn't be mixing
I guess you can't have it both ways, but then again, when you look at the video, this is terrible, Mike. Now you have me throwing shots. Thanks a lot. Straight into the gutter. You know, Paige, I love that statement. The next thing you know, we're cracking jokes about Brad Maddox. Anyway.
Brad Maddox might be the luckiest guy on the planet.
No, he's just good looking, man. That's to his credit.
Him and Xavier Woods.
Just trying to figure that one out, but that was an interesting combo.
What do you mean you figure that one out? What does that mean?
Well, if you would ask me to like line up the roster, if we're gonna like go down Weird Avenue as you've like now detoured us down, I don't know if that would be the top pick. You know, Brad Maddox is actually.
Wait a minute. Hold on, folks.
Is he there?
Eddie Mansfield. He is here. And we interrupted in his. He was going to watch basketball, and I begged him to please.
How you guys doing, man?
Man, it's great to have you on, man. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I love it.
Since you brought up basketball, I'm nauseous as a Knicks fan, but thanks a lot.
Well, you should be. You're going to be real nauseous after the Patriots kick your ass. Watch.
Oh man, Jimmy!
You know you can't bet on the Knicks, man. I lived in New York 10 years. You can't bet on the Knicks. They're going to lose in 6 games.
Yeah, well, it's wasted money. Wow. You know, I still gonna. Yeah, he's rough, isn't he, Mike? But hey, historically, what are you going to do? What are you going to say? We don't have.
Well, it's the truth.
We have a track record, bro. We have to overcome the track record. Otherwise, we're just the same old.
Let me be legitimately honest, right? I stepped away from the Knicks, Jimmy. You know, Eddie doesn't know us that well, but I stepped away from the Knicks years ago, and finally they made me feel like a believer. And I actually sat down and watched the entire game, and I'm like, man,
great game though. Oh my God, there's one of the greatest games I've seen in years.
Yeah,
it was crazy that game.
And
I mean, I can't believe they came back. I just thought the game was over. Yeah. I mean, I really did. I said, I'm going to sit here and watch this crap, and let's see how bad they get beat.
Yeah. Well, the way they throw up the shots nowadays, these guys wouldn't have lasted 1 quarter against Rodman types. So,
shit. No, they'd shut him down, man. I mean, you can't. Yeah, they wouldn't be raining these threes. Like, there's no defense anymore. You know, they don't know what that is.
No. They have no clue at all. Everything's like it. That's why I actually like this Knick team, because they're not really about that when you really think about it.
Yeah, run and gun.
Yeah, they're a little more old school. So, Mike, we're not done yet. Let's just hope. And we know what history is telling us, but let's just hope. It's our job. We're fans.
All right. Well, before we get to the great Eddie Mansfield, Eddie, again, thanks for joining us. I'm trying to get your avatar up. I'm having issues because usually I have a studio that we shoot up. Yeah, well, because Eddie contractually, if you don't mind me sharing, cannot really be on video, so he has to be on audio, and which is respectful. And I would like to put a picture of him so someone doesn't see a black round thing there. But considering
the black hole, brother.
Considering my really bad, friggin' producing skills at this point, I kind of give up on myself. Eddie, you missed the opening of it, though. I'm going to ask you about this. I don't know if you watch any wrestling, but there's a wrestler out there by the name of Paige, and she recently announced on X that she will no longer be hugging any fans that come up for autographs because recently a fan tried to kiss her on the lips. Luckily, she got away. What are your thoughts on that, Eddie?
Well, I'm just glad the fan got away because it probably had to have a couple of tetanus shots, I mean, who in the hell wants to kiss her on the damn lips? Wow. You don't never know where those lips have been, man.
Oh, no, we do, because it was on sex video, so we do know where those lips have been.
Well, what does that tell you?
We're talking about the different type of lips, though, Eddie.
Well, I think she uses both of them pretty good.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
I always say whatever blows her skirt up, whatever.
That's what I'm talking
Apparently a loud fart.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
So, Eddie, I don't know if you ever watch a show, but Jimmy, who lived with me up here in New York, we should shoot out a studio, but one of our guests came on one time, and her name was Karen McDaniel, and somehow Jimmy and Karen fall in love, and now Jimmy is married to the widowed wife of the great Wahoo McDaniel.
Well, he'll be broke pretty soon. Just ask. Hey, just go look up Wahoo's bank account. How it went quick.
Well, can you share some stories about your relationship with Wahoo, please?
Well, me and Wahoo. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was having a good run in Atlanta. And Wahoo came to me. I was cutting promos, and I had a good match. And believe it or not, that night I worked with Eddie Gilbert. Hot Stuff was a babyface in Georgia, and so we tore the house down. And he was a hell of a babyface and a good heel too. Eddie was just a good guy. And so anyway, Wahoo came to me. I'd been cutting some promos, and he goes, "Hey Eddie," he said, "Can I talk to you?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Look," he said, "you remind me of three guys. Ray Stevens, Ric Flair, and Dusty Rhodes." I said, "Uh-oh, what do you want, Wahoo?" He said, "No, I'm serious." He said, "You bump like Ray Stevens, you got the charisma of Ric Flair, and you can talk like Dusty Rhodes." And I said, "Okay, Wahoo, what do you want?" He says, "What I want to do is I just got the book in San Antonio, Southwest Championship Wrestling. I need a good heel like you to come in and draw some money." And so we cut a deal, and I went down to San Antonio, and I popped that. I had a good deal with Wahoo. I did color commentating. I had a job guy, and I got my interviews each and every week, and then I got to pick the guy I wanted to work with. And everybody fainted when I picked Scott Casey. Well, Scott Casey looked like the Marlboro Man. And so I knew that I could get some heat calling him a goat roper, and a gay caballero and stuff like that, and really, get on his ass. And we did. I tore that cowboy hat up, and the rest is history.
Now, Eddie, we're WWE guys, right? So I think
I was WWE guys before your happy ass ever thought about being.
Well,
we were in the WWF in Los Angeles.
So that's what I was going to get to. When did you start with the WWF in Los Angeles, and what was that like? Can you share that experience?
Well, yeah, pretty close to the early 80s. And I had a hell of a run. Me and Piper were partners in L.A., and then he left and went to Portland. And then I took his spot. And it was like the Eddie Mansfield hour out there. And they treated me really well. And I enjoyed it. And I was huge in New York. I mean, because the TV went in, it was it's Telemundo now. It came in big on that channel 34. And I had a lot of, and I worked with all the New York guys. What was really strange was my first babyface I worked in Englewood was Pedro Morales. You remember him?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, don't put that picture up with me. Put that damn blonde haired picture. That's Eddie Mansfield, the Continental Lover.
We got stuff coming. You got stuff coming.
So anyway, it's anyway, I went from there, you know, and get back to the Southwest Championship Wrestling. I really love, you know, working in San Antonio. I'll never forget. I went in there and the first time I worked at the Hemisphere Arena, Tully Blanchard was on top, and Wahoo had been telling me, he said, you know, that guy can't draw two knobs of goat shit. And I said, well, you know, I didn't know him too well, but he kissed my ass when I came in there. And Tully was always like that. He'd kiss whoever's ass came in there, the newest guy trying to get a rub, and he just couldn't draw. Tully's a good worker, but he just couldn't draw in San Antonio. He just couldn't. And even, you know, I had the idea. I used to go to a booking meeting with Wahoo. Me and him lived up the street from each other, and I'd always go in, and he always tried to give me the Southwest Heavyweight Championship. I said, "Are you nuts?" I said, "Tully Blanchard wants that really bad," and he'd call about 10:30 every Tuesday, and hey, Wahoo, when I'm getting the belt, and I'd look at Wahoo and say, "You ain't giving me that belt. I don't want it. I can draw without that damn belt," and I proved it. So when I went in the Hemisphere Arena, he was on top, and they drew 800 people in a 23 or 4,000 seat arena. Man, you could hear it. It was sad. I've never been in a big arena that empty. But I tell you what, when I left, we drew 24,000 people and turned away 15,000. The hair versus hair against Scott Casey. And you probably heard Shawn Michaels talk about that. He was at that match. And I was one of the loudest pops I've heard. And I enjoyed Southwest. We drew everywhere. I drew with Pusky. I drew with Wahoo. I drew with Tiger Conway. You know, I always ribbed Terry Funk. You know, Terry helped me get in the business with Dickie Slater and Leon Ogle. Guys, I'm going to tell you this. One of the greatest sellouts I ever had in my damn career was selling out Amarillo, Texas, with a black guy on top in Amarillo. That's Cowtown, you know. So Tiger Conway and myself sold it out. And I used to rib the shit out of Terry Funk. I said, hey, we sold out Amarillo and there wasn't a funk on the damn card. I wonder how we did that. And well, I can tell you some stories about that old Funker boy guy. I mean, I love that Terry Funk. He was good. I'm a television producer by trade, and I did a cooking show with Funk. It's called Cooking Funk Style, and it's pretty cool. And then Vicky got sick and died, and then Terry went quick, and it's just sad. It's just really sad, guys. You know, to have probably the greatest professional wrestler in the ring that ever lived. And another great one, it gets a lot of shit, but Ric Flair is really was one of the best ever. And I don't care what anybody wants to say about Rick. Rick's a buddy of mine, and he's always been a friend of mine. And he gave his life for this business. And Terry Funk gave his life for the business. And you know what Terry Funk told me one time, guys? Everybody has a hero. Like you guys got a hero, and everybody has got a hero. And I asked Terry Funk, I said, who's your hero? He said, I only got one hero. I said, who's that? He said, my dad, Dory Funk. I said, no kidding. He said, that's all I wanted to be, just like my father. And he was. He looked just like his dad. He worked like his dad. And, boy, if I ever had a kid, I wish to God he'd love to grow up and be like me. Wouldn't you? I mean, that's the greatest thing a father could ever hear.
Eddie, can you tell us more about I'm fascinated by the early time period you were with Roddy Piper. This is way before Roddy is Roddy Piper. What was he?
No,
like
he was always
around?
Roddy Piper. That's what you don't understand. No,
okay.
he was Roddy Piper in Los Angeles. The world just hadn't discovered him yet. He was Roddy Piper. And we used to go to this place, Zuki's. You know Johnny Rods, right?
Of
I was
course.
just to ask you, was Rods the reason Piper started getting over with the Jabba Rook gimmick?
Oh hell no! I mean, Johnny was great with Java Root. I worked with him with Java Root, you know, in my stable. But nobody got Roddy Piper over but Piper, and just like Eddie Mansfield, nobody got me over but Eddie Mansfield. And certain guys do that. You don't need help. You know what I mean? And that's the way you have to look at it. I mean, because you're an island to yourself, even though you're surrounded by certain people, you're still an island. And so you got to get yourself over in the best way you can. And you take no prisoners. You don't have to be rude to the people around you. You just outshine them. You out-talk them, you outwork them, you outdo everything. And that makes you better than them. And you don't have to say anything. It just happens.
What was it like with the politics backstage for somebody? You seem and you always did seem on screen very, very confident. Was it like that backstage to like you said, you're all jockeying for position. So what was it like for you backstage back in the day?
Well, you know, I had a lot of friends, man. We used to hang and bang and you know, I just never got, you know, into a lot of the politics of wrestling. I just knew it. And I knew how to position myself. And that's what I did. I positioned myself. And I did pretty well until I met Ole Anderson. That's where my career went down the tubes. And he couldn't get Ric Flair. Here's the deal, guys. You know what? Eddie Mansfield was the bearer of Ric Flair because he was protected by the Crockett's. Ole Anderson hated Ric Flair. Hated him. He was jealous of Rick because Ole couldn't work as good as Rick. He thought he could, but Ole, look at his matches. They're for shits. I mean, you know, and he got in booking and all this other bullshit. But you know something? Ask Jerry Briscoe sometimes. What a piece of shit that guy was. Why do you think Jack and Jerry sold their shares of Georgia Championship Wrestling to Vince McMahon? Because he's an asshole, Ole Anderson was. And there's nothing about you can't say anything nice about that guy. I mean, he ruined more people and took food off of so many people's damn table. It's just a sad scenario. But he got his comeuppance. You know, God got even with him.
Eddie, if I can ask, if I may ask, what did he personally do to you? Like, what happens once you get to Ole that you described that it was the downfall of your career? You know what's really funny when you say that? Wahoo and myself were flying in from San Antonio to do TBS on Saturday mornings, and then I would fly to Detroit and do Cobo Arena for Eddie Farhat, the original Sheik, who I think the world of. Eddie Farhat was one of the greatest guys that ever walked the face of the earth. And greatest heel this business has ever seen. I'm just telling you. But I was in there and I was getting a shower because I had to go catch a plane and go to Detroit. And me and Wahoo were talking real quick. And Ole says, look, I want to start booking you. I said, booking me. And he said, I'm going to take 20% of your money. I said, no, you're not. I said, where are you going to book me, Ole? I'm already booked every damn where. You know? I said, he said, well, I got 7 other guys kicking back 20%. I said, well, I ain't the fucking guy that's going to kick it back. And so he said, if you don't kick it back, he said, I'm gonna ruin your career. You won't ever work again. And I said, you know something, Ole? Right in front of Wahoo, I told him this. I said, let me tell you something, guy. I said, if you do that to me, I said, I'm going to go on national television and expose your ass. And I did. And the trouble is, Ole Anderson got to ABC and sent him to Vince. And Vince has never done anything to me to this day. And it was Ole Anderson. And I told that John Stossel, that piece of shit, that he screwed me royally on the whole deal. But it's okay.
So that's interesting, Eddie. I did not. All right, so we're just fans, so I kind of understand what you're saying there. Ole wanted to book you for us like an Andre the Giant with Vince McMahon Sr., right? He wanted to run.
Well,
you
Andre the
circuit.
Giant, I am not. But
no, but you know what I mean. Though. Like he was. Good.
He wanted. You can't compare me to the Giant. But anyway, it's like he wanted to take a guy like me and a Flair and some of the other guys like us and book us. I know Tommy Rich was kicking him money back and a bunch of other guys to stay on top. And so his little Georgia Mafia guys there, you know. And so those things from the locker room. And Terry Funk told me, he said, "Don't you kick that son-of-a-bitch back money ever." He said, "You're too good to do that." And I said, "Okay." And I told Wahoo, and then Wahoo told him, he said, Wahoo told him, he said, "He's my guy." And Ole looked at Wahoo and he said, "Not for long." But anyway, that's the shit you would go through, you know. See, he couldn't get the Ric Flair, so he got Eddie Mansfield. And I'm glad he couldn't get the Rick. You know, really, when I look back at it, you know, the son of a bitch, I would have had a hell of a career in wrestling. I had one until he did that to me. But you know something? He probably did me a favor, get me the hell out of the business. I'm still living and I'm still doing really well. And, you know, I don't look back. I hate that son of a bitch. Yeah. But anything else with wrestling, I don't. You know, I got nothing to say about bad about it.
Eddie, were kickbacks commonplace? Like, I've never really heard it described this way, where somebody's like basically trying to extort money from you for further positive booking and shit like that.
Yeah, they did that.
Was this commonplace, or was this an old?
Yeah, they did back in the day with the territories.
Really?
Yeah.
In many territories?
Well, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Like,
hey.
You know Ron Fuller, Buddy Welch, all those guys, you know, they had a monopoly on the wrestling in the South. Because if you saw a Welch, there would be a Fuller. And there was a Fuller, you see a Golden. Or you know, they would have 3 or 4 guys on the card that were kin to each other. They would keep the money in the family. And
did Vince McMahon truly conquer these guys at the end of the day, or were they already?
Let me tell you something. My head is off to Vince McMahon.
There you go.
You know what he did? He took those son of a bitches and showed them how the game was played. He took those hillbilly bastards and rolled them up and spit them out like a bad habit.
Eddie, speaking of Vince, do you take somewhat credit for Vince's success? Because after that 2020 situation, Vince did change it into sports entertainment and got away from the New York State Athletic Commission. And from what I understand, it was due to your appearance on 2020. Do you feel that is true? And how do you feel that you put him in charge?
Well, hey, look, Vince did himself. I mean, Vince was very, very talented and still is today. But I can tell you one thing, that when I took a steamy, seedy kind of business and put it on the big stage, all of a sudden they had the bright lights shining on the fat rats in the junkyard and they had to run and hide. And so what I was trying to do is you know, and if you guys ever get an old program from Los Angeles, right, you'll look on the back and it'll say on the bottom, all these matches are exhibitions conducted under, you know, the California Athletic Commission. So in other words, going back to the 70s, they were saying that these matches in Los Angeles were entertainment. And so I was thinking that if what I was trying to do is get us in the SAG and AFTRA, because we're on TV every week, right?
Yeah. And
then that way it would give the guys, you know, some hospitalization, and so many of the guys wouldn't be dead today. You know, would have probably saved 250 lives, you know, with just having hospitalization and stuff for the guys. And that's that was my main goal, to do that. You know, they always wanted to be at like a shoot. Well, why? Why? It's not a shoot. If it was a shoot, 99% of the guys wouldn't be in the business. I mean, it's entertainment. And I mean, you know, if anybody's ever had a fight, you hit a guy in the nose, your nose is going to bleed, or you're going to crack a guy in the jaw, you're going to knock him on his ass. I mean, you know, you can't hit a guy 20 times in the damn jaw, and you know, only in the wrestling does that work. But you see what I mean? When you look at things and you try to make something real, that's, you didn't have to, because people are going to buy the characters because the characters are that good. We were that good back in the day. In the 80s, we made wrestling what it is today. The 80s and 90s, well, we killed them.
Before you did the 2020,
Yeah.
did you ever think that you would receive the blacklisting and the backlash the way it wound up becoming? Did you think to
I was
yourself, you know,
shocked.
really?
I was shocked.
Elaborate, please.
You know, I was shocked because I worked hard and I was really good at what I did. You know, I could work and I could talk, and you know, and I lived my gimmick. And so when I did do the Continental Lover, I was a Continental Lover all the time. You know, when you saw me out, I lived my gimmick, and I learned that from the Sheik. You know, if you ever went out with the Sheik, the original Sheik, he always lived his gimmick, and he wouldn't talk to people. He just wouldn't. And if you're gonna portray a character, it's like Ric Flair. Ric Flair is Ric Flair. I mean, he's a nature boy, and why not? Why not be the nature boy? He spent how many years building that character? I mean, that's the way I look at things. You know, that's what people want to see. They want to see Ric Flair. They don't want to see regular Ric Flair. I've never seen regular Ric Flair. You know that? And I've known Rick forever. I've never seen a regular Ric Flair.
No such thing.
No. I mean, he lives that. Hey, he's Ric Flair. And you know something? I'm very proud of his daughter, Charlotte. I know her as Ashley. But Charlotte Flair is the best thing going. You know, AEW sucks. Is a wrestling.
Well, Mike, he fits right in with us.
Yeah.
Do continue, sir. Go on.
Let me tell you something. If I had Tony Khan's money in my brain, I'd draw so much fucking money. It'll make that guy buy 22 camels.
Can we be on your booking committee? Can we please be on your booking committee at least? I want to be a part of this, because this.
Well, if he hired me, I'd clean house. I'd fire Jim Ross. I'd fire Tony Schiavone, that ass kisser.
Wait a minute, hold on. What's up with Tony Schiavone? How come you hate Tony Schiavone? Well, don't hate him.
Boy, he's the biggest stooge in the world, man. Hey, he needs to make sure that he has stock in chapstick.
Oh,
because he has to use so much on those lips for kissing so much ass.
Ooh, wow,
he's just non-talented, man. You know, hey, I trained a guy that would when I had the IWF at Universal Studios. I trained a guy that's pretty damn good commentator. You ever heard of Kevin Kelly?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, no, he's good.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Makes you feel like you're watching a sports presentation. That's what I.
Yeah, that's what you. Hell, that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Not some howdy doody shit. You know, it's like. But I mean, Eddie, you know, it's sad when you got to keep hiring recycled horse shit like that all the time. You know, I mean, the whole AEW roster is like a joke. I mean, they're all not. There's a few guys I would take out of that roster, but I would change that whole roster. You know what I would do? If I was booking AEW, I'd make a splash so quick it'd make their head swim. I'd make Charlotte Flair the first $1 million baby in professional wrestling. I'd pay her $1 million to leave WWE and come to AEW. And then I would either get Alexa Bliss And there's another girl I would get too is Cora. What was the one that they cut out of NXT?
Core Jade. Yep.
Yeah, she's a good one. You need to put on a roster.
What are you doing with the guys? It's interesting, Mike. He's like you.
Because he's smart. He's smart. Who needs the guys?
What about?
Just
well, no, you got to build. Well,
guys too.
Well, yeah. Well, and then you know who I'd steal from a WWE?
Who?
McIntyre.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's the most misused guy I've ever seen in professional wrestling. That poor guy don't know if he's up or down each week.
Yeah, he lives in gray matter booking land, if that's what.
Yeah, I mean, sad. It's really sad.
Well,
I mean, this guy's got a lot of talent.
Speaking of that, I'm going to ask you this: is Roman Reigns in one of the at least the top 5 greatest wrestlers of all time?
Roman, yeah. I knew Roman growing up in Pensacola. That's Sika's kid from the Samoans.
Speaking of Sika, you kind of rolled into this because last week we had a mixture of guests on, from Marty Jannetty. We just had a mishmash of a show.
Yeah.
We ended up having this PI by the name of James Terry, and he came up with this story. I just flashed his picture, but basically he said that he had interviewed you and that you at one point dated Nancy Argentino.
I did.
Is that okay? Can you share that?
She used to live with me in Los Angeles. And you know, I'm gonna tell you a hell of a story. This is really cool.
Okay.
So me and Snooker went into Tulsa for George Scott because Scott was going to buy Tulsa from Leroy McGurk, right? And I knew Leroy McGurk. Great guy. That's Mike McGurk's father. Mike was the announcer for the WWF, remember?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, we went in there. Had Paul Jones was a baby face. Then he brought in Sid Hansen and Rip Hawk, Blackjack Mulligan, who was later my world champion with the IWF. But anyway, so me and Snuka, and I was supposed to go to New York to follow Snuka. Vince was starting to put all the puzzle together with his guys, right? And he was getting George Scott to work for him and all this other stuff, which was good. I had the whole skinny. And then that stupid Johnny Rods fixed Nancy up with Jimmy Snuka, who later killed her. When I was producing,
wait a minute. So real quick,
when I was producing the XWF at Universal, Jimmy came and sat with me in the truck. And I leaned over and asked him, I said, why'd you kill the damn girl? He goes, I swear it was accident, Ed. I said, shit. Okay. And Jimmy and me were close. We lived together in Tulsa. We lived together in Dallas.
Well,
I mean, you notice I never said anything ever.
Well, let me ask you this question though. You're dating Nancy in California. How does Jimmy end up with her through Johnny in New York?
Well, I made the cardinal mistake of listening to Ron Fuller. He flew to L.A. and begged me to come to Knoxville. That's when Bob Roop, Ronnie Garvin, and Ronnie's a good friend of mine. Roop, Garvin, Orton Jr., Malenko were trying to steal Knoxville. Remember when they would go to Plan B? You ever watch that Plan B with them talking about exposing the business?
Yep.
Yeah, well, me and David Schultz went in there to help him save his territory. And that was the biggest mistake I ever made, going in that damn Knoxville, because I gave up my spot in L.A. And Ron was great to work with. I lived with Ron in Pensacola. And but it's just that but when that's how I Nancy hated Knoxville. Being a New York girl, I don't blame her. I said I hate it too. I made a mistake. I need to go back to LA, because we lived on the beach, man, in Los Angeles. And me and Nancy were real close. Nancy was really sweet. She was a real good girl. She didn't deserve getting killed like that.
Well, let me ask you this then. The PI kept going on with the story, and then all his words that he said he spoke with you. So he said that you told him that Afa and Sika were also involved in the death of Nancy.
No,
Okay.
he's full of shit.
Okay, good.
Alpha, here's the deal with Alpha Sika. They knew what happened, right? Here, now you're going to hear it from Eddie Mansfield. Everybody talks about Eddie Mansfield. Now you're hearing from Eddie Mansfield. You're not hearing from some fucking bullshit guy that it plays arena football. All right, this is Eddie Mansfield. Alpha and Sika knew about it. And, you know, they were close, Jimmy. And all the Samoan guys were close. But Alpha and Sika, they didn't, they knew about it and they kept their mouth shut. And Vince took care of them for doing that. Alpha told me that.
Let me ask you this, being that you had a relationship with Nancy, and however Nancy passed away, right? Whether it was an accident or whatever the case is. I've heard so many different stories from so many different guys that have been on our show. How do you look them in the face knowing that you had a relationship with them and in your mind you may have thought something else went on?
What do you mean? I look at who?
So
Jimmy
you're talking
Snuka?
to Jimmy. Yeah, you're looking at Jimmy. You've been in a relationship with this lady.
Yeah, but I didn't give a shit about that. I mean, that was so many years ago.
Okay.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you know,
Right.
hey, I've been married and all this other stuff. Hell, you know, Nancy Argentina was you know, an arena rat pretty much.
Mm.
You know, but she was a good girl. She didn't deserve to die.
Right.
And
Why
I
do you
mean, when
think-
she was with me, I treated her very well.
Why do you think that Vince continued to? I mean, if Vince is aware of this and stuff, why would he continue to keep Jimmy Snuka? I mean, what? Why?
Well, sometimes, you know, money talks and bullshit walks.
And Jimmy was obviously worth that much for Vince to just go shush.
Well, he paid the guy. Well, he paid them. They said these people know that told me that he paid the guys off in Pennsylvania, in Allentown.
The
He
guys
went in there
being-
with a Halliburton full of cash, and he'd leave with it. How about that?
the guys being, if I can, you don't
I ain't
have
gonna
to
say that.
Okay, all right, it's the guys. That's fine.
And,
Well, I'm
and
from New York.
no, Jimmy, you have to realize at that point, snooker was the hottest thing in the WWE, so it does
Yeah.
make
I do.
sense.
No,
And
I
then
do.
once he started to wane, Vince kind of shuffled him off, and that was it, right?
Right,
But at the time, that was Vince's guy. I mean,
Yeah.
he just
Yeah.
took over the organization. You know, Eddie, I want to bring you back to Ole Anderson, Georgia Championship Wrestling. I wanted to ask you a few things. You talked about announcing with AEW. What were your thoughts on the great Gordon Solie?
Oh, the best there ever was.
How come?
Well, you said it earlier. He made it like a sports. You know, listen to Gordon was like listen to an NFL play-by-play guy.
True.
You know, calling the game.
True.
And he was kind of like the first guy announcer that I heard, and I've heard him from the West Coast to the East Coast, you know, Hillbillyville to everywhere, you know, and this guy, he laid it down, and he used words for knowledge, and so he made the wrestling fans more intelligent, whether they liked it or not. And that's what I loved about him. And Gordon was a hoot, man. And I got along with Gordon very, very well. You know, I was a guy, Dr. Jim Andrews. You remember Dr. Andrews with Georgia Championship Wrestling?
Yep.
Well, I'm the guy who introduced Andrews to Gordon Solie. I took him to the clinic in Georgia and got his hip looked at. And then I had an idea with Gordon. I said, Gordon, you need to make him the doctor and film his ass with angles and shit, you know? And so he took it, and he ran with it. And Gordon was just a great guy. I loved Gordon Soley.
Was Gordon drunk from like the morning to night though?
I can tell you one time we did this interview. I don't know if it was in Tampa or Pensacola. I can't remember. But I got up next to him, and, you know, he liked to smoke some reefer too. You know, between the reefer and the booze, buddy, he'd get his mind right.
Man, so smoking reefer, man. Nice. That's what
I'm talking about. He'd have me the only guy to pick him up from the airport because he could burn a heater with me, right?
Oh my God.
And so he'd get his mind right before he went to television.
You hear that, Mike? Get his mind right, not wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
And he doesn't wear a mask announcing either, Jimmy.
Oh no. But I was cutting an interview with him, and he went to lean back in the damn chair, almost turned. I just caught it and pulled him right up, and he didn't miss a beat, man. He just kept going. He said, he was. I love Gordon Soley. He's a legend, man. I mean, he's just too cool.
Dude, you could make a cartoon: Eddie Mansfield and Gordon Soley smoking weed, driving. Not bad.
I'd watch that.
How about this one, Eddie? You just talked about Ole Anderson. We're back to Ole, but
here
you are, the continental lover, right? Women all over you, man. They all want a piece of Eddie Mansfield, but guess what? You got to work with Jim Barnett. How many times did Jim Barnett hit on you?
No, he didn't. Jim Barnett was. Let me tell you something. He was the brains behind all them hillbillies. And Jim Barnett was. He called me when I had the IWF. At Universal Studios, and I should have brought Barnett in, and I don't know, I just didn't do it. And anyway, Jim says, "Eddie, my boy," I go, "Yes." He goes, "You know, I had nothing to do with that fucking Ole doing that to you." I said, "I understand, Jim. I don't hold it to you. You know, I don't, you know, I don't hold a grudge." I said, "I'm just showing you how smart I really am, Jim." He goes, "My boy, how did you get that deal with Universal?" And I said, "Because I'm just that damn good, Jim. And I ain't going to tell you how I did it." And so we got to talking. But Jim, let me tell you, Jim was the brains behind the television. He had all the gay guys in Turner. He had the hookups. And so that's how Georgia Championship Wrestling got 605 was Jim Barnett. And Jim Barnett and Ole tried to run him off because, you know, he lives a certain way. He lived in a penthouse and that was his deal, right? But he's the one who brought all the money in, not Ole Anderson. Ole Anderson ran it off. But Jim Barnett, you can say what you want about Barnett. Vince McMahon jumped all over him, didn't he?
Yeah, I always said that was one of the main reasons Vince got to where he had to as fast as he did, because he had Barnett behind him. Barnett was brilliant.
Well,
right?
Barnett knew where all them hillbillies had all the bodies buried.
Yeah. Wow. Again, not looking for dirt, but you seem to be, you know, pretty forthcoming.
No, I don't talk dirt. I just tell you the truth.
So. Again, we've had Tommy Rich in so many times. Tommy rocks, right? But there's also the rumor that the reason he did well in the beginning of wrestling before it became popular is because he was forced into a relationship with Barnett. Is that true?
Well, I don't know. I can I quote somebody?
Sure, quote whoever you want. Quote the Pharaoh.
I'll quote the original Sheik, Eddie Farhat. He says, "Eddie," I go, "Yeah." He said, "Brother, I was going up that elevator, Barnett's, and I hit that button open, and there's Tommy Rich and Jim Barnett in the bed together."
Oh boy.
He said, "I just turned around and howdy ho." That's from the Sheik, the original Sheik. Now he's passed away, so I can't, you know. I'm only giving you some scoops that was given to me.
That's all.
I'm not saying that he did anything. I'm just saying what the Sheik said.
What he's trying to say, Jimmy, is there's a possibility, and maybe not a possibility, that Tommy was spreading some wildfire that night. We're not sure.
Yeah. And that's great because when I go inside and look at my March 1981 Inside Wrestling with him on the cover, I'm going to just feel real rosy about that. But go on. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, hey,
Great,
did
Monty.
did he autograph it and give you a dildo too?
You know what's worse off here, Mr. M. I smoke weed with Tommy when I see him, so now I'm very confused.
Well, just don't grab the soap, brother.
Oh my God! There's no shower involved. People at home, no shower. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Oh.
Wow, that's brutal. Hey, as a television producer. Like
Yeah.
back in the day when you were wrestling back in the day, like did you ever like look at the TV product and like start thinking? Because I mean, I'm assuming you always thought like a TV producer until you blossomed into one. And you're looking at the product back in the day and watching it and going, were you able to give tips to anybody that would listen
Yeah,
to you? Were
I
those
did.
seeds in your,
Yeah,
come on.
I did. I started learning television production in Los Angeles, and I would go in the truck. The problem was that Mike LaBelle had me involved in just about every damn match on television. So I only had a couple matches to go in the truck, and I'd go in and I'd TD and I would direct these matches. They'd let me do it. The director, he goes, how in the hell do you know what's going on? And I looked at him, I said, hell man, I'm a wrestler. I know what's going on. And so I knew how to switch the cameras and get close-ups and, far aways and stuff like that. I know how to pan, and I knew how to do all that stuff. And it just it fell in my lap. I'm just really good at that. I love that. And I love it now. I can produce and direct. I have, and I'm an award-winning producer and director.
Mike, I'll jump ahead to the Pharaoh's final question. Would you like to produce for Monte and the Pharaoh?
I don't know if we can afford him, Jimmy.
Probably not. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I don't put words in my mouth. It's just that, I'm just a little. Hey, I'm just a little nervous about the soap deal with you and Rich.
Yeah, great. That's great. Look at you jumping to conclusions, leaping, in fact.
Eddie, I want to go back to the 2020.
I did not call you Leaping Lanny either.
Oh, well, I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Well, that's the one you don't want to drop the soap around.
Oh, my God.
Eddie, did Lanny have the biggest the biggest hog in professional wrestling?
How did I know?
No, I don't think so. That was Robert Fuller.
Robert Fuller had the biggest hog.
Mike, he was Fuller.
No. He used to walk around. I swear that Barnett used to. Well, I know why he got the booker in Atlanta, but he'd walk around, in front of Barnett, and he'd go, "This is why they call me the Tennessee Stud." And his brother was a Tennessee Stud.
Eddie, you got to understand, when we started the show, Jimmy thought we'd be talking about wrestling, but now it's turned into talking about hogs with famous pro wrestlers. Not talking about wrestling. We're talking about hogs right now.
Yeah.
Eddie, I want to understand, in your mind, you're going to do the 2020 thing. In your mind, you're trying to help the wrestlers. I totally get that. Makes sense. But what kind of turmoil before this is about to happen is going through your mind?
Well, it's not. It's not. I mean, a lot of the top guys knew what I was going to do. And John Stoss on them at ABC. You know what's really funny about these bastards at ABC? You know who broke me in the television business?
Who?
A good New York guy by the name of Rune Arledge.
That's a name I do not know, sir.
Well, you watch Monday Night Football, Wide World of Sports.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he created all them.
Oh God. Oh God.
And he was a genius, man.
Yeah.
And my attorney, Michael Collier, was one of the biggest attorneys in New York. He's passed away now. And me and him were sitting a Bull and Bear at the Waldorf in Midtown. And we're sitting there bullshitting, and I was doing national commercials. I thought I was rolling, you know what I mean? So it's like, and then Rune sat next to me, and I didn't know who he was. And I was sitting, and me and Michael was bullshitting, and then Michael says, "Hey, let me introduce you to Rune Arledge." And I said, "Holy shit, I heard of him." And so I shook his hand and he said, "Hey, I really like you." I said, "Uh-oh." I thought he might be gay or something. I said, "Oh, shit," And he goes, "No." He said, "You're very talented." I said, "Well, thank you." He said, "You're not going to do any more national commercials." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I'm going to teach you how to be a real producer and you're going to make real money." He said, "You be at my office at ABC on 66 in Columbus tomorrow morning at 8:00. I said, "Okay." And that's how I got into business.
It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I learned from the best, man. And you guys always take this. Bruno always told me this, Eddie, if the deal feels bad, it is bad. And you know something? I walked away from so many deals because they felt bad. And he said, no matter how bad you want the deal, no matter what, walk away, stand up, shake the guy's hand, have the balls enough to hit that door, and don't look back.
Jimmy, where was Eddie Mansfield when we made the deal with Intuitive Television for Jim Beam? Right? If we would have heard this comment, maybe we would have done it. Right?
Yeah. Pretty damn sure about that one.
Well, when you go after sponsors, always ask high, and then you can always negotiate a little ways down. But if you go in low, you got nowhere to go.
Yeah. Or just don't go into business where someone's going to take all the money from you and you can't do anything about it.
Oh, no. Let me give you a little hint with the entertainment business. If your name is the stars of the show, you make sure that check has your signature on it. You see what I mean?
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, that way, Jesse James don't hit the box office.
Mm.
Oh, Eddie, where were you a year and a half ago? Eddie, got to ask you this question then. Vince McMahon, all the trials and tribulations, the most recent one with the sexual allegations. What are your thoughts about the whole thing, and what are your feelings about Vince McMahon as the human being?
Well, I don't personally know him, but I admire him for what he was able to do with the WWE. And you just have to be a dumbass, a jackass, not to appreciate what this guy accomplished. I mean, he took a regional territory from his father and made it national, and in a big way. I mean, he's the one that TKO is still reaping the rewards from, doing those $1 billion deals. Vince did $3 billion deals. That's unheard of in the wrestling business. I mean, you got to give kudos to Vince McMahon and his whole family. Linda McMahon, Vince McMahon, Stephanie, Shane, all of them. You can't not incorporate the whole family. But the leader was Vince, and the rest of them followed because they were smart. Triple A's no Vince. I tell you, but Paul Heyman is. Paul Heyman's the smartest guy they got in that locker room. They better listen to him. He'll take you to the promised land. He knows how to, make that puppet move and groove the right way.
I love it.
He's the idea man. While we're on Vince, recently Hulk Hogan has also been public enemy number one. What are your thoughts on Hulk Hogan? After all, without Hulk Hogan, Vince absolutely needed the chess pieces, and historically we know what Hulk Hogan is. But what's your thoughts when Hulk Hogan is basically shit on by the fans when he comes out for an appearance? Does he deserve that, or where are you at with that?
Well, sometimes things come around, they go around. I have nothing bad to say about Hulk. I really don't. Some people say a lot of different things about Hulk, but without Hulk, you wouldn't have the WWE today. Just telling you. Because Billy Graham, who Hulk and Vince copied, superstar Billy Graham, if he would have stayed toned up like he used to be, I mean, he was a freak. He used to come into LA, man. He was the biggest white guy I ever seen in my life. I walked through LAX with Billy Graham. Man, he stopped. People stopped to look at this guy. He was that damn big. And you know, I got Leroy Brown in LA, and we were in the first locker room at the Olympic Auditorium. That's where we dressed. And Billy sat in there with us. And I looked at him next to Leroy, and Leroy's 6'6", right? 340 pounds. Leroy looked little. And I looked at myself. I said, shit, I must look like a damn midget then next to him.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like 235, 240, you know, twisting steel and sex appeal. But I didn't have no 24-inch guns and 50-inch thighs. That guy was the biggest son of a bitch I ever seen in my life, man. And he could talk. He could talk some smack at Billy Graham.
Should they have kept the belt on him instead of giving it to Backlund?
Oh, no, you know, that was a bet. Did you know that was a bet between Vince McMahon Sr. and Jim Barnett?
I heard it was Eddie Graham, but yeah. So
no,
I heard
Eddie Graham
gets
too much fucking credit for a lot of shit that he don't deserve.
So what's your story on the bet? What was the bet?
Well, Bob Backlund couldn't draw two knobs of goat shit. He was like Howdy Doody. He can't do an interview. He couldn't, you know, he was just bad, you know. And Barnett says, oh my God, you can't draw shit with this guy. And he told Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon said, I guarantee you I'll put the belt on him, we'll draw. And the biggest mistake that Vince McMahon Sr. ever did, and I'm sure that Vince would Jr. would tell you that too, that he should have ran Billy Graham one more year.
Can I challenge you on that, though, Eddie? I always felt that if he would have kept Graham, Hogan would not have been as over as he was when he finally came back to the WWF. Because it would have been
there was
two
no
of the
such
same,
thing
right?
as Hulk Hogan then.
Well, what I'm trying to say to you is, say they turn Graham face and he wrestles as champ.
You can't be booking for a future. I mean, you don't have a damn crystal ball there, brother, that say, oh, there's a Hulk Hogan coming in 10 years from now or 5 years.
No, but you do know that Hogan does come in 5 years. So say your plan does and they decide not to go with Backlund, they give it to Graham. Now Graham,
it wouldn't have hurt the territory. They would have still kept selling out. And then if they wanted to drop it a year later, they could drop it to Howdy Doody.
Who would you have given it to? I'm just curious. If it's
Superstar
not Bob
Billy
Backlund.
Graham. Superstar,
No, I mean,
I would have had him
like,
right. I would have had him ride it out for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would have thrown him a curveball. I would have, you know who I would have given it to?
Ken Patera?
Hell no.
I figured somebody big and muscular and strong for legitimately real purposes, but go on.
Pedro Morales.
Oh, no, not him again. Oh, my God, Mike. Pedro, again.
Yeah, because he could turn around. You know why? All you're using him for is to drop the strap.
Okay. To who?
To Bob Backlund.
Oh, we lose either way, Mike. See, like, what Eddie doesn't realize is Pedro and Bob used to torture us because we were Morocco and Valentine fans.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, you couldn't put it on Greg.
Why not?
Well, he was like a deaf mute.
What? Mike, help! He's killing my favorite wrestler of all time. Help!
Go, elaborate, please, sir.
No,
what's wrong with Greg Valentine?
Oh,
you ever heard his interviews?
Would you?
I have.
Hey, I love Greg,
Stop.
but come on.
Oh, God, he had the wizard for that stuff. Come on.
Well, yeah, you going to bring the wizard back? Now, him and Barnett would have got along real well.
Oh.
You are killing me tonight, Eddie. Oh, my God.
Serve that one right up there, huh, Mike? Oh, boy.
All right, listen, Eddie's got to go watch some basketball. I want to thank you for coming on, Eddie. I'm sorry I couldn't get you on quicker. I suck at producing. What can I tell you? That being said, we're going to hit you something with something called the Pharaoh's final question. We don't know what's going to come out of Jimmy Pharaoh's mouth. He may ask you what color underwear you're wearing or what kind of bologna sandwich you like
Not
On
after
a
the Tommy
Tuesday.
Rich jokes. No colored underwear. Would you stop?
All right, go ahead,
Oh my
Jimmy.
God. All right, fine. In all seriousness, the way it's all played out, Eddie Mansfield, would you do it all over again when it came to the 2020 segment?
Yeah, I'd do it better. I would have controlled it. I wouldn't have had them go set Vince up like he did. You know what I mean? And he didn't do. They didn't do what they said they were going to do in the agreement. So you live and learn. Now, as a television producer, I control everything. And I learned from getting screwed when I wasn't one yet. And it's like with your content, always control your content because you're the master of your content. Nobody else is. And don't let anybody else control you because you have the talent and you guys have got the show and you do a hell of a good job. And so you make sure that you control your content the way you want it portrayed, not by some Joe Schmo coming up and said, oh, well, you need to do this. No, I need to do whatever hell I want to because that's what gets me over. Don't let people change you. Be yourself, or because if you're not yourself, you're not who you are.
Eddie Mansfield, if I wasn't a fan of yours before, I am even a bigger fan of yours now. One last question. I know we hit you the Pharaoh's final question, but this has always bothered me too. Do you believe that David Schultz really hurt John Stossel and that he deserved the money he got from the courts?
Oh, well, something. No. John Stossel got a friggin' $500,000 payday on Eddie Mansfield's back. See, if you ever read the transcripts, everybody that I told him not to interview, them bastards went and interviewed. I told them ahead of time. I said, don't interview David Schultz because Vince is trying to fire him, and he'll slap you. Well, that's all he needed to hear because he wanted to get, he wanted a lawsuit. That's what he did. And Vince, I told him there, I said, Vince has never done anything to me. He still hasn't. It was Ole Anderson. So they listened to Ole and went to Vince. And that's what I hate, that they didn't do the right thing. And Ole Anderson's a piece of shit. And not only to me, but a lot of other guys.
I gotta tell you, that Dark Side of the Ring, you must have been a happy camper by the end of that one, right?
About what? Well, me?
The Ole Anderson Dark Side.
I didn't watch it. I'm too busy to watch that shit. What I was glad when I did Dark Side of the Ring, number one, they had to pay me some real good money. Mm-hmm. And second of all, I know how to do an interview where you can't edit it when I do television. And so you notice that I finally got to say what I wanted to say. And I did. David Schultz, I got no respect for David Schultz.
How come?
I just don't. Because he's a two-faced friend. I've always been a friend of David Schultz. I stuck up for him when everybody hated him. Because he slapped some 92-pound guy upside the head, that he's a hero. Well, if he was such a hero, how come he couldn't get booked anywhere? Nobody stood up for him. When he got his deal at the Cauliflower Alley, I'm the one who got him in there with my friend Bob Cook. You know Cooker.
Yeah, Cooker rocks, man.
Sure.
Oh, Cook's the best, man. He's one of my dearest friends. I love Bob Cook. Terry Funk loved Bob Cook too. Those are two peas in a pod, Cooker and Funker.
It's a weird thing about wrestling, Eddie, is there's so many unsung heroes that just didn't get their just due. And Cook is one of those guys, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
From the fans, I mean,
Well, that's because he had bad bookers. I mean, Bob Cook's a star, man. And he just wasn't utilized right. There's nobody in the business throws a better right hand than a Bob Cook. ever. I mean, they can go to school right now to the Bob Cook School of throwing punches, and you can learn something. The Cooker's a good dude. He's like you. You guys are good dudes. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a wrestling fan. You should be a wrestling fan. If you like it, love it. There ain't nothing wrong with it. I think it's pretty cool myself.
Well, now you're gonna have now. I gotta ask you this question. Then I promise we'll let you go.
I don't
Do you
care.
get
I got nowhere to
annoyed? Or
go.
does
It doesn't
bother you
matter.
sometimes?
Huh?
Does it bother you when wrestling fans like Jimmy or myself use wrestling terminology, being that we weren't in the business?
No. No. You know what I call you? Students of the game.
Oh. Don't you work us.
Well, I'm not working you.
Don't you work me, Eddie! Don't you dare work me!
Hey,
Think about
hey,
thinking like a 1950s sitcom. Don't you work us, Norton.
hey.
Oh, my God.
I just got to
Thank
tell you, you know, well, I don't need to work you.
There you go.
I mean, you
Appreciate
got to.
it.
I mean, because if you love, see, you report on it all the time, the wrestling business. Well, you need to know it.
Well, Eddie, we have to know that Paige has 2 sets of lips. That's very important to the wrestling fan.
So, how did you get on this girl?
I know. You see, unfortunately, I never got on her, Eddie, and that's the biggest issue.
Come on.
No, like I said in the beginning, before you got on, she went on describing she's a hugger, and at the signing event.
Oh, she won before me?
Oh no, she's
No,
what's
she was
that?
part of our news excerpt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She wasn't on.
Yeah.
We usually do like some kind of news article, and it's usually not about wrestling. But in this case,
Well, isn't she banging some black rapper?
She could be.
Yeah, that's what I heard. She's banging some black rapper.
Where'd you hear that from, James Terry?
Hey, you could ask him. He'd probably tell you. You know,
He'll tell. That's a good idea, Jimmy. Might have to get James Terry back on the phone.
hey, next time he's on, call him a pooch sniffer.
Oh,
Yeah, because he walks around sniffing all the pooch, you know.
Raggy. Oh boy.
All right.
You give me the scoop on this Paige. What's her deal?
So Paige, the wrestlers now, they go on these signings and they make a ton of money. In fact, there's one wrestler, I don't know if you knew about it. You can actually text her, Eddie, for $99 a month. $99 a month. You could text her and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And she'll respond.
What's her name?
Yeah, of course she will.
Well, she is now Mercedes Monet. She used to be Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
$99 a month, Eddie. Could you imagine that it's all become under this? What do you think?
You know something? I wouldn't give her 2 knobs of goat shit.
Wait a minute. You don't want to cook? You don't want to cook in your underwear? Oh, like what's her face, Mike? She cooks in her underwear.
God. Yeah.
Who?
The Thunder Rosa. So she
Right.
cooks
Who the hell's
in
Thunder Rosa?
She's in AEW. She
cooks in her underwear, Eddie. Come on, man. You're not subscribing? What's wrong with you?
Come on,
Well,
dude.
I
That's
wouldn't
$100
want
a
to
month.
go. Hey, I wouldn't want to go with a chick by the name of Thunder Rosa. Hey, are your hands tied by thunder thighs or what?
Sounds like a fucking bar.
This was the
Sounds like a
Well, it
discussion.
sounds like a
bar.
porn star.
This was-
Thunder Rosa.
This
You know?
was the discussion between me and Jimmy. So Paige is doing a signing. She's
Yeah.
admittedly a hugger. A
Okay.
fan comes up and
Yeah.
tries to put a kiss on her lips. She was totally disgusted by it, and she had to go on to X and announce that she'll no longer be hugging, fans and be respectful. But let's rewind it 5-6 years ago, right, Jimmy? The tape comes out where Paige is banging 2 wrestlers. But she doesn't want a fan kissing her on the lips.
No, wait a second. What are you suggesting? She's just supposed to perform fellatio for every 3rd guy online? What are you getting at?
Yeah, right. That's what he was saying.
That's
All right.
what I'm saying, and that's what
All right.
Mansfield's saying too.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're gonna be a porn girl, be a good one.
Wow. Either be it or get off. Or do
Well,
it
yeah, it
both.
seems like she's in it to win it. I mean, it's like.
Well, Paige,
But I heard, off the grapevine that she's going with a black rapper.
Oh, really?
Like we said, we'll find out. We'll report back to you. We're going to reach out to James Terry and see what his weigh-in is on this.
What
Yeah,
Eddie,
I mean,
what Eddie's
ask
producing the
Jim,
next
is
episode
she
for us.
going with a hog on a stick or what? You know, it's like,
My God.
Well,
So
I
her
learned
name
a
is
lot
Paige?
this week, Mike. I really
Well,
did.
her
I
name
learned a
is
lot.
Saraya now, but it was
Saraya.
Paige in the W. Saraya.
that
Saraya
sounds
says
like a
Saraya
damn
says-
itch.
Yeah.
That sounds like a
It doesn't-
damn.
It sounds like some kind of venereal disease.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
got
does.
Saraya. I got Saraya.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
got Saraya from banging all them guys in the locker room.
3 shots to my tush.
All right.
Hey,
Let's.
what? Hey,
This is rough. This is rough.
you shouldn't talk bad about the girl. You know, she's putting out anyway. You know something? If we'd had girls that looked that friggin' good when we were working,
Oh my.
Oh, here we go. What's the matter? You weren't like having the hots for moolah? What's wrong with you?
moolah. Oh, well, you're the only guy I know would have the hots for moolah.
No. Tommy Rich.
Oh,
is much
yeah.
better looking.
Oh yeah.
I'm
I
on
mean,
record.
you got the hots for Tommy Rich, so I mean, hell, you'd be a step above doing
You know, I
moolah.
have a McDaniel currently. Somebody cut me some slack here. My God, help me. Oh, my
I'm not
Lord.
supposed to laugh this hard on the show. I'm sweating like.
Well, that's the way it goes. Live
stuck
TV
big
and
right
all.
now.
Live TV.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to look into that page if she's doing porn. I mean, that's cool.
Oh yeah, dude, it's free too. Just
Yeah,
Oh,
if I
that's
see,
great.
well,
Just Google
all my
Mike,
all
why
my
don't you just
all
send
my
them a
girls
link
are
after the
free
show?
anyway. You know what I mean? I don't have to pay for that.
Oh, my Lord.
Well, that's lucky you, Eddie.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's better than paying, isn't it?
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy.
Oops. I
Well, you
clicked
pay
on-
for it anyway. It doesn't matter.
That's,
You're gonna take.
that's what I'm saying. Look, I'm not afraid to say it. You know what I mean?
Well,
What am I
you're gonna
do?
pay for it anyway. You're gonna take them out, and you're gonna spend $150 on dinner. You better hope you
right.
get laid.
I get told how sucky you are in bed, so it all works out, right?
Well, just
Oh,
tell her
crap,
talk to the
crap.
microphone, and everything will be fine. You know.
I clicked on the wrong one. Is that Hogan's ass? God damn it.
See, him and his asses. I'm telling you.
All right, Eddie, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for joining us. You're fantastic. What a great show. Jimmy, you got
Well,
to
thank you
send us
guys
out,
so
bro.
much for having me, and let's do this again.
The great Eddie Mansfield. Incredible. Thank you.
You guys be
You've
good.
been watching.
God bless.
Yeah. God bless. Thank you, Mr. M. You have been watching Monte and the Pharaoh. And until next week, thank you for tuning in. Later.
Jimmy, I got to
Yeah.
tell you, friggin'
Yeah.
love this guy, man. My God.
Oh, he was great. He was great. You know what though, too? You can't help but wait a minute. I just signed off. Anyway, you can't help but wonder what he might have become if this all didn't happen this
Dude,
way.
in the end result, the dude's a friggin'
Yeah.
television producer. Like, he gives a
Yeah, I
shit.
know. He
That
doesn't
you
give
know
a
what I mean?
shit.
It's
One
like,
way
who
or
gives
the
a
other.
shit?
Yeah,
It's like, okay, I'm
one
not
way
a
or the other.
wrestler.
No, this is true.
Making tons of money as a television producer.
Yeah,
My
this
God.
is true. I guess it's just the wrestling fan in me that wonders about stuff like that, But great guest.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you.
All right, folks. Later.